What's up, friends and family, welcome back to a new video. Today we have Ragnarok versus Astrea, which was played today in the Olimoleague on the Korean server. Astrea in the top left as the American hope. In bottom right we have Ragnarok, of course one of the top Korean zergs, one of the guys that last year really had some good runs and some good performances, and is probably one of the biggest up-and-comers out of Korea. He's been around for a long time, but very recently he's been doing extremely well. Astrea, on the other hand, is exactly the same, but then in the foreign scene. He's one of those guys that you definitely need to pay attention to if you like sport and StarCraft. He's been doing extremely well in these cups. He's in Korea at the moment, practicing there, and he's been playing in the IEM qualifiers. He's played in the Olimoleagues. I've seen him play in some other cups as well, I can't remember where, but actually beating some good players, or getting very close to beating some of the top players even, so this should be a good match. The map is Triton, and we have just a hatch first against a gas first. Well, the gas first indicates usually that it also gets followed up by a no scout. So you get faster into the gas. The moment you get the oversaturation in the main base, you just start mining from that gas. Quick one gate expand by Astrea, who will be opting to wall with a doodad of the map over here, rather than, for example, leaving a hole here. It's interesting to see. Always fun to see how Protoss players wall, of course. As a Protoss player myself, always interests me when people do things different from me. Watching someone play exactly the same as me wouldn't be quite as fun to watch for me. Ragnarok opening with what we like to call the Korean opener, where you go 3 hatches instead of getting 2 queens and then getting your third hatch at around 30 supplies. So this is a 23rd hatchery. You get 1 queen on the natural, and then the queen in the main is a little delayed, which means that the injects won't be synchronized, which will make it a bit harder to play. You will have slightly faster creep on your third base, but I believe you actually have slower creep on your natural, if I recall correctly, when talking to the zergs. You also have a 24 overlord. And now it's important to see what this initial overlord scout will be doing by Ragnarok. He sees that there's no second chrono boost on the gateway. Will he go in, or will he just stay in the natural and then go to a little perf spot, a little hiding spot, where he will look over the gases of the Protoss player? Always interesting to see. We actually do see a second chrono boost on this gateway. So this adept will come out, double adept, most likely into Stalker and then an Oracle. Meanwhile, we have Ragnarok working on those unbuildable plates. Not sure why, but he seems very keen on taking those out. So that this should not be a finish. Yes, first adept shade does not get finished. 4 more links are on the way, which is appropriate if there's 2 adepts being chrono boosted. I mean, you don't want to be caught with your pants down only having 4 links. The moment 2 adepts shade in against 4 links, you could start losing a lot of workers. So it's always dangerous when that happens. Ragnarok still actually a little bit too far forward with the overlord. I don't think he's gonna lose it if he starts controlling it, but ooh, a little bit of a weird move there. He might end up actually losing this. Gonna get real close. It's a soccer. 2 more shots? No. So 2 more shots remaining on this one. Curious to see if Astrea will go there with the Oracle to provide high ground vision. Yes, he will. Ragnarok, realizing this, already flies away. Cute little play there by both of them, honestly. It's fun to see. Of course, moving out with the Stalker here feels a little bit risky. Now, there is an Oracle there. There's a bunch of links on the map. And, ooh, he will need to activate this Oracle Pulsar Beam. We'll lose an Adept. We'll lose a Probe as well. Trade 5 links against an Adept and a Probe. Probably worth it for Ragnarok, who is pretty happy that he also managed to save his Overlord. Don't forget that Overlord was gonna die otherwise, so good save there. Second Probe comes out to build that Nexus finally. Won't get sniped by these, well, 3 remaining Zerglings at this point. And we see an Evo Chamber coming out of Ragnarok, which means he most likely will be going into a quick +1 for links, a delayed lair, and then perhaps after either a Roachling Bane style or just a Hydra Bane style. Both are completely fine with this opener. Meanwhile, we have 2 Oracles already done. 4 Adepts are now on the map as well. Actually, a massive link run by here at the third base. This is a lot of links, and a lot of drones are being cut. And it doesn't actually look like Ragnarok is done yet. There's 18 more links run away. I'm a little bit surprised by this. This needs to do a lot of damage. 32 links in total, which is the equivalent of 16 drones, don't forget. So he's gonna need to be able to do a lot of damage here, but +1 is very far away, so this seems a bit ill-timed. 2 adepts are shading in as well, and even though there's 32 links on the map, there's actually none at home. These 2 adepts will be able to force a full drone pool, and actually will be able to get 3 drones as well. Nice little spot here. We'll be able to reduce the surface area of these Zerglings. Adept won't be able to shade out. 4 drone kills and a full drone pool for 2 adepts in this phase of the game is definitely worth it, especially after this massive Ling flood that Ragnarok attempted and didn't really do anything. We have the oracles coming back in, getting a couple of kills once again. And how many units have fallen down so far? 6 workers killed by Astrea in total. 2 by Ragnarok, who really needs to get something done with these links, as these links really haven't paid for themselves. He just gets nothing done. Usually around this time you'll see the Zerg at around maybe 70 or at least 68 workers. This time you have Ragnarok with only 58. He's getting 2 more, so he'll be going up to 60, but it's very bad for the Zerg when Protoss can take their gases before the Zerg is taking all the gases, and Toss can really take all the gases right now. I'm not sure why he's not doing it. Opts to go for 4 extra gateways. Will be going straight up to 8. As an Immortal is being chrono boosted out. 4 sentries are on the map already as well. Here come the 5th and the 6th gas against a Ragnarok who starts producing units already. With only +1 done, +2 not on the way. Yeah, okay, +2 starts now. So there's going to be Roachling Bane most likely, or Ravagerling Bane. Oh, good force fields once again by Astrea, who managed to trap a bunch of Zerglings. And with those force fields, actually that's kind of a dangerous army here. And also a pretty powerful defensive army. Now what is Astrea seeing on the other side of the map?
Your forces are taking damage.
Oh wow, what's that voice?
Terrible damage.
You didn't see a lot. I'm not sure why this one's coming back home. It's interesting. Ragnarok finally gets his 4th base going, but look at the worker count, it's so low. If as a Zerg you have roaches and you're down in supply, usually it just means the game is kind of over, you know, it just means you're gonna have a very, very rough time. And we see these 2 oracles flying around, trying to get some kind of information. And even though he doesn't see anything pop from here, he sees a complete lack of workers. And as a response, I wouldn't be surprised if he wouldn't move out, but instead, here we go. No workers, no problem, is what Astrea says. And I mean, he is ahead after that big Ling flood early on, but going for the kill against a Zerg that stays on 70 drones seems a little bit ambitious in my opinion. I mean, it's completely possible that he just kills his opponent here, because his opponent has a pretty tiny army, and we have, I mean, a lot of units here for Astrea, who's also on +1, starts his storm as well as +2. It might just be a push to clear creep. He might just move forward, force out a couple more units while taking a forward base, while getting storm and +2. Don't forget, still layer tech for Ragnarok. And the moment you stay on layer tech against a Protoss player that will get storm, that will get +2, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. If he gets there and he managed to push you with 200 supply before you have Brute Lords, well, if Astrea doesn't die, like, he's definitely going to be able to do that, because the infestation pit hasn't even started yet. 74 workers out right now for Ragnarok, who ideally would be somewhere around 82, 83 workers, going up to 8 gases. Not this time though, still only on 6 gases, as there's just an idling prism here, forcing a bunch of unit of Ragnarok to always stay home. Now, there's 2 stasis, oddly placed stasis wards, I guess for the earlier push to get a safe retreat path, make sure that he can't be flanked either. So we have Astrea getting completely caught out by these Zerglings. It's okay though, as long as Astrea isn't dying, he's winning, because this army is an army with an expiration date. What? He just biled his own Bane. That's mad. Alright, I mean, it's an army with an expiration date, but I wouldn't suggest killing your own Banelings. Yeah, I mean, the Ragnarok definitely just needs to push. It's the only thing he can do. I agree with this decision. He set up a Bane run-by at the same time as well. With +2, of course, these Banes will be able to one-shot probes. There's a couple of cannons here. There's a couple of Zealots ready, so these Banes won't be able to do anything. Good start of the fight here for Astrea, who hits every single storm on big clumps of Banelings. Some good force fields to follow it up with. There's still a lot of Banelings remaining though for Ragnarok, who has a big roach reinforcement coming in as well. And this army by Astrea actually looks pretty small. Good force fields coming down though, but completely out of storms at this point. Where are the oracles? Use your oracles to deal with all of these units. There's no anti-air here, Astrea. And here we finally go. Oracles start joining the fight as well as 2 more storms. No, just 1 more storm comes in. This Templar does not have storm. A couple of big battles, and oh, a lot of the probes will go down against these Baneling run-bys if Ragnarok decides to micro them. Yes, a lot of workers are going down actually. This is looking pretty dire here for Astrea, who looked to be in a fantastic position. All he really needed to do was not die, and then he died. Truly a rookie mistake. Perhaps to the best though. I mean, I've always tried to not die, but for some reason it always never seems to really work out for me. I feel like Ragnarok is pushing a bit too hard here, and not with a big army. Like, he just keeps rallying Lynx and Roaches instead of just sending one big go and then pulling back, waiting till he has Banes again. I mean, Zealots with +2 actually do very well against Lynx and Roaches if there's no Banelings, but if there is just a couple of Banelings, Zealots become kind of useless. Astrea needs to get these storms going. He needs more Archons as well. He still has both of the Oracles remaining, out of energy at this point though. Ragnarok is getting a 5th base, but is still in all-in mode, don't forget. Yeah, sure, he's getting a 5th base, but he's only mining off of 70 workers. And he's only mining off of 6 gases, which means he can't be teching at this point. He needs to be attacking. Like, if you can't tech, you attack. So that's exactly what he's doing right now. The army of Astrea looks very, very weak though. Only a couple of storms here. Not too many Banes in this army. First storm hits absolutely everything. A lot of Ravagers in low health. A couple of Lynx fell down there. This is a slow warping pylon. You might want to build a pylon closer to the Nexus. This is a weird movement here by these Zealots. How many storms do we have remaining? We have 5 storms remaining. First storm goes down, hits a lot of Banelings falling immediately. Oh, another slow warping with all of these Zealots. Another decent storm. All the Banelings are actually disappearing, and we still have 2 storms remaining. So that storm whiffs a little bit. These Banelings might be able to actually get all of these Templars quickly turn into Archons to prevent that. I would love to see a quick pylon here. He really needs some kind of reinforcements. Instead, the reinforcements will be warped in the natural order 3rd. This main army is actually holding on, I believe, together with the help of the Oracle and this warp, and he should be able to hold it. And none of these probes fell down. Meanwhile, we have a Zealot run by with this Prism that has been so active throughout this game. This is a 5th base that needs to be defended, because otherwise Ragnarok will be running out of patches to mine. As we see the natural and the 3rd running dry. Still quite some mining possible on that 4th base, but this 5th base is very important. I mean, at this point, I actually think Astrea is in a very big lead. He is at way better tech than his opponent. He has even supply once again. He's getting an armor upgrade rather than +3 though, so perhaps dropped 1 too many times when he was a young boy. But armor really does not do anything. If your army consists of mainly Archon, and against a Baneling army, it's just better to just get +3. He has the money for it as well, so I'm very confused. We do have an Overlord drop by Ragnarok, who finally realizes that maybe the frontal attacks are getting a bit to be expected here by Astrea, but really what Ragnarok needs is a transition. I mean, at this point it's too late. Like, he's 69 workers off of, well, still 6 gases. It's like he really doesn't want to go into the late game, but on the other hand, Astrea's income isn't that hot either. I mean, he does have 4 bases and he's getting a 5th, but his 3rd and his natural are mining out as well. Like, he's gonna be on practically 2.5 base mining relatively soon, even though he's on 4 bases, of course. +3 is starting right now for him, and once +3 finishes, this will be really hard for Ragnarok to break. As, I mean, the longer the game goes on, it already becomes harder, but with +3, like, there's just not the upgrades to match here for Ragnarok. I'm not a fan of this move out. I think this move out is not necessary. Like, the thing is, Astrea isn't aware of how all-in Ragnarok is. He doesn't know he's still on Lair. He doesn't know there's still 6 gases. Well, he might be aware there's still 6 gases, but he might be afraid of Broodlord, so he wants to push forward, maybe at least force some fake units. Now, with the Revelation, he does see a lot of stuff. 49 Banelings, 5 more on the way. We'll be going up to 54. I don't quite understand what Ragnarok is waiting for, to be honest. It's not like his army is going to get any better. He's maxed. He has a Banelink out that many Zergs would dream of. Like, he needs to attack, and he needs to do it as soon as possible, preferably with some kind of run-by setup to another base as well. But every single time, like, these prisms and these run-bys are just pulling him out of position. And now he's actually deciding to move forward. 21 more Banelinks morphing in, and this army is very scary by Astrea. +3 is not done yet. We're gonna need to see some fantastic storms, as 2 run-bys happen at the same time, so at the 3rd base and the 5th base. So Astrea should give up his 3rd base. He should not bother, because he is doing more damage on the other side. He's attacking 2 bases at the same time, getting 18 those big storms on these Banelinks. Awful micro by Ragnarok, who just walks into storm, into storm, into storm. There's no more Templar remaining with storm, but there's still a lot of Archons. +3 is getting closer and closer to finish. These Zealots aren't being contested at all. The 5th base will fall, then 3rd base will fall. GG gets called, and Astrea, in a miraculous way, manages to win game number 1. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number 2 between Ragnarok and Astrea, who's up 1-0 right now. I'm not sure if this is actually the order it was played in, as I'm just doing this from replays, of course. Once again, no scout. Every time you see a gas first from a Protoss player, you're gonna know it's a no scout. It's a nice little trick you can use to impress your many friends that also play StarCraft. Also, if your friends don't play StarCraft, now's the perfect time to introduce them, as StarCraft is free to play. Don't forget that, boys. If you do have any friends in real life, of course. Trust me, I told all my family members. Don't have quite as many friends as you lads watching my YouTube videos, I bet. Anyway, back to the game, as we have just the very standard openers. I mean, what can you really say about PvZ in the early game at this point? It's going to be a 1-gate expand. It's got to be against the hedge first majority of the time, and Ragnarok is doing exactly that. Astrea quickly will be getting his Nexus up. And this is a map which has some interesting features. You have this ramp, you have this little ramp, and then you have this little ramp. So every opportunity for the opponent to attack will be coming up a ramp, which means there's kind of a big defender's advantage. I mean, this is a single force field ramp, this is a single force field ramp, and this is 2 force fields. Unless you force field like I do, then it might be 3, or on a very bad day even 4 force fields. But 2 perfect force fields should be able to block this off. As we're starting to move into the real part of the early game, where decisions will start being made. Of course, the first real decision that Astrea will make will be what kind of tech will he build. This is starting to look a little bit like a Stargate. Yep, Stargate going down once again. Chrono Boost on the Adept as well, so might be seeing a very similar style as the last game. Double Adept opener into Stalker. Feels very, very comfortable if you're opening up with that gas first. Of course, gives you a lot more money, a little bit more gas. Second Adept coming down, and we will see that second Chrono Boost, I think. No, single Chrono Boost only this time. So that's a difference from the first game. Meanwhile, Solar opening with the more European, or sorry, Ragnarok opening more with the European way, going into Queen, then 3rd base. So now the injects will be synced up. He decided to go for Creep Tumor first, but then the second inject should be synced up, as they will have the same amount of energy. The first 2 queens. 3rd queen is already on the way out, as well as a Phoenix here for Astrea, who decides to only get 2 gateway units, which makes sense if you to not chrono boost it. Then never need to chrono boost if you're only getting 2 gateway units. You can, but definitely not necessary. First Phoenix is about to finish up. We'll be dealing with this Overlord. On the other end we have Ragnarok. Not quite sure what he's up to. I hope we're not going to see another Link Flood like we saw last game. Did absolutely nothing. Bit of a sad attempt in this day and age of being aggressive. Especially because it didn't even really time out properly with his +1 attack, which truly did confuse me. Like, there's some builds that have very quick +1 timings, they delay speed a bit, and then that kind of Link Flood can be really good because the toss doesn't expect there to be +1, but in this case it just was regular and it didn't really seem to do anything at all. Now, this is a cool play. You see Astrea is attacking this Overlord, trying to pull queens out of position, and it's working. All queens are out of position, except the one at the 3rd, which is where Astrea will be going. So, a very cool play, but actually won't work too well. There's no queens anymore at the natural after that move. Of course, now there is. Ragnarok will be going up to 5 queens, which is a very standard number these days. Nothing wrong with that, Ragnarok. Proud of you, man. Second Oracle is about to join up with the first one. We'll be hiding into this little corner, but Ragnarok wasn't born yesterday. He has 2 queens in position in this base, most likely 1 queen, no, 2 queens there and 1 queen in the main. So this is different than you see most of the time. Most of the time what Zergs do is they will keep 2 queens in the main, 1 queen in the natural and 2 queens at the third. So in case a Protoss player decides, hey, I go to the natural, you can pull queens from all angles onto the oracles and most likely get an oracle kill. So the 2 queens at the natural is something we don't see a lot, I have to admit. As 2 adepts are scouting for any links. So while he's doing that, he's actually gonna get a couple of kills. Lives a single queen, gets 3 workers, loses a phoenix and an oracle. So an absolutely pathetic trade here for Astrea, who is up in workers because once again we have this weird Ling flood. It might be more successful this time, but Astrea is so solid. Gets a battery, gets out 4 adepts, and he has, I mean, 4 sentries once again. Really high sentry count every single game, I have to admit. We see most tosses only go up to 2, or maybe even on a good day, maybe 3 sentries, but 4 sentries, that's really pushing it, man. It's been some time since I've seen something like that, and it works well, I mean, for him so far. We've seen some good force fields come out of him. He has a lot of scouting with that hallucination. And once again, we have Ragnarok, who built, well, how many links was it total? He lost 6 already, so built about 24 links, less than last game, but he didn't really do anything with them, which is a bit sad to see. Once again, just getting tricked into building those units. Now, we have roaches and links as a follow-up, as well as a spire, which so far didn't get spotted, I believe. Where actually is that spire? Did I completely miss it? Oh, wow. It's over there. Well, if I missed it, I'm pretty sure Astrea also didn't see it, so this is gonna be a little bit of a surprise. There's no Phoenix anymore, of course. It got lost in the early game to those queens in that flyby. And these units are just here really, at this point, like these roaches, just to trick his opponent into perhaps chrono boosting out another immortal, not really thinking about the possibility of Muta, and also stopping him from scouting again with hallucination. Now we have Astrea actually setting up for a bit of a push once again. Already on 4 gates, 4 more on the way. So we'll be going up to 8 gates. That's a good gas count. It's actually moving out already as the first 7 mutas hit the field. 77 workers, that's very high. That's a very high worker count. And it might be a little bit scary now, because Astrea is moving out. He starts denying some creep. Oh, this looks like a stasis ward. This looks like a stasis ward queue up. Yes, it definitely is. As the 7 mutas enter the main base. 4 mutas just attack this pylon. Such a waste of DPS. Should be targeting down probes, if anything. We'll be flying into the natural, and we'll actually get a bunch of workers here. So, very uncharacteristically poor control by Ragnarok, who I feel like could have killed 14, 15 workers already, but has actually been a bit distracted in his Muta micro. Does end up killing 9 workers, but at the cost of 7 mutas, which most likely won't do anything else. And the spire as well. I mean, it's some damage, but yeah, it's difficult to say, because the thing the mutas do as well is they delay the storm a lot of the time, because you're adding phoenixes, you want to add a couple of archons, get some stalkers. This all costs a lot of gas, and it also costs attention. So storm usually gets delayed, and then the real punch isn't necessarily in the mutas. I mean, this isn't mass muta, this is just 7 mutas. Actually added 1 more, so I guess 8 mutas total. That's 3 have been lost already, but the real punch is in the follow-up with that +1, with that baning speed, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ragnarok just decides to collapse on top of that 4th base. I think Astrea might not be able to defend that. I don't even think Astrea will try, honestly. I think it would be wise to just stay up the ramp. He does not have Storm. He just needs to stay alive, and walking down here in the open would be a mistake, just exposing himself to big bane counts. Now, Ragnarok is going up a ramp, which I'm not entirely sure about. I feel like the infestation pit should have been down already for him as well, but then you feel less pressure to actually attack into your opponent, and just attacking into a ramp. Just seems so weird to do. We do have a big run by. Astrea is very consistent and very persistent with these run bys all the time. Continuously has like 10 zealots on the other side of the map. I miss them most of the time. I'm not surprised that Ragnarok also misses them. Why would he attack up this ramp? He lost so much there. So many banelings died. Like, this fight basically went down without him losing any banelings. And in that case, what you do is you get an infestation pit. And every time Astrea moves down this ramp, you go like, alright buddy, back up. And you just kill this base. He had like 60 banelings or something. Now, he still has a lot of stuff. But it feels like he just wasted so many units for no real reason. Units lost. Resources lost actually in favor of Astrea at this point. And it never should have been. After how dominating Ragnarok was in the basically the first 7-8 minutes of this game. Now we do have 4 Phoenixes shooting down this Overseer. And we have a Ragnarok who is just aimlessly moving around the map, trying to perhaps catch some Zealot run-bys. Does see a Prism, might try to catch it with Biles, but usually that kind of stuff doesn't work. Oh, no, barely doesn't catch it. Phoenix is still in the middle of the map. First 5 Corruptors. What are these Corruptors? Oh, Corruptors will be used on the Prism. I don't quite understand all 5 of them though. 6 Corruptors. That's a bit too early for Broodlords because the Hive isn't even done yet. Greater Spire hasn't started. This is gonna cut into his army supply by quite a bit. He's already on 81 workers and add those 6 Corruptors. Meanwhile, Astrea is just on 70 workers. So Astrea is gonna be quite some army supply ahead, and his army is going to be higher quality as well. Doesn't have Storm yet though. Fascinating to see how he just manages to skip Storm for such a long time and feel comfortable with it. There's only 18 banelings on the map once again. So many banelings got lost for absolutely nothing. More banelings are being morphed in, of course, and a lot of gases are going down. Ragnarok going up to 10 gas. And we'll be preparing for a late game. Should immediately start at Greater Spire. Yes, there we go. Another good run-by setup here by Astrea, who's, like I said, has been very consistent, very persistent with this. Decides to go into Blink. No Storm yet. I hope to God that this is a fake move out, because if Ragnarok attacks into this, there's absolutely no way that ends well for Ragnarok, right? I mean, there's so many units here. There's batteries, there's cannons. Yeah, I just don't see it happen. I don't see that happen, honestly. There's a lot of Phoenixes on the map as well. Afraid of maybe a Muta or Corruptor switch still. As we have +1 for these Phoenixes on the way as well. Greater Spire is getting very close to being done. And once those Brutes are out, this army of Astrea, especially without Storm, is going to be practically useless. And he'll probably will have to play a late game. The problem for Astrea being is that he actually doesn't have a Fleet Beacon or a second Stargate yet. So he will be going for a push without +3. +3 is still about 10-15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds away from being done. A couple of Chrono Boosts will speed it up, of course. Greater Spire is also pretty close to being done, but not quite close enough. Right now there's 7 Corruptors on the map, only 27 Banelings. Without Broodlords, there's no way he's gonna win this fight. There's 22 more Lings in production as well. This is a really small army here. 112 army supply, a lot of that is still being built. And a lot of that is in Corruptors and Broodlords, which, like I said, aren't even done yet. So I actually think that Astrea might just be able to A-move his way through. Phoenixes are actually going to town on these Broodlords with the +1. Actually do a lot of damage. So Phoenix is completely destroying these Broodlords. Everything on the ground gets eaten by the Archons. A couple of Transfuses might be able to save the Broodlords, but blinking forward, trying to target them down. Only 2 Broodlords remain right now. There's still a lot of Immortals. 4 Immortals still shooting. 5 Immortals. 3 Archons. Meanwhile, another Zealot round. This is so beautiful to see. Every single time he attacks, or every time he gets attacked, he has a run-by ready, and Ragnarok throws the towel in the ring, calls GG, as Astrea, this was the semi-final match, moves on to the finals to play against Solar, which I will be casting next week as well. So, thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this, and if you enjoy the Olimoleague, you can get the replays from her Patreon. There will be a link to in the description. And if you like this video, feel free to subscribe to me, leave a like, comment if you hate it, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.